It's Friday, January 17th, 2020, and you're watching Battleground. Well, officially it's Ezra Levent's Battleground, as you saw with the logo, but of course the commander is on assignment, and therefore we're filling in. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host somewhere in northern Alberta, where I think it's minus 4,900 Kelvin, is Sheila Gunn-Reid. How you doing, Sheila?
Hey, David. I'm great. Just trying to stay warm. Yeah, it is. It's very cold. I think it was like minus 42 or something again this morning, which is warmed up from the other day.
Wow.
So, I think the weather's supposed to break to minus 20 by Monday, but I guess that remains to be seen. But yeah, this is Ezra's weekly live show, where he normally sits down and just sort of freewheels it and interacts with the people in the comments. And that's one of the great things about Battleground is it's unscripted. You get to hear our opinions sort of off the cuff, and you at home get a chance to get involved too. You can put a super chat. That's what Google calls it, or what YouTube calls it, and you can throw a little money at us. It'll highlight your comment. We'll see it. I'll see it out of the corner of my eye, and if I miss it, we also have a backup plan. We have a producer in studio in Toronto who will email me the comment so we can read it, and we'll discuss your comment too. Indeed, because folks, as Sheila said, not only is it unscripted, it's unfunded. By that I mean we're not taking money out of your pockets and purses in an involuntary manner like the CBC and all those cats in the mainstream media taking that $600 million bailout of newspapers. So if you like what you see, as Sheila said, please donate even a little bit. It all adds up, and we always greatly appreciate your contributions. Well, Sheila, what a busy news week it's been. I think the most pressing story is what happened to our colleague, Cian Bexley, simply trying to A, practice journalism, and B, access a public courtroom, which apparently, I didn't know this changed in British Columbia, Sheila. They are now running star chambers where things are being done in secret, I suppose. But we're talking about the Jonathan, a.k.a. Jessica Yaniv story here, and I think we might have, I'm going to see from Mr. Producer, do we have a little footage which shall tell the story? Well, yeah, we do. So without further ado, just check out what our friend Cian Bexley, check out the madness he ran into in British Columbia earlier this week.
Yaniv, will you be pleading guilty? What?
Go.
No,
Go.
don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Hey! Stop! Go away from me! Go away!
Fucking hell!
Go away from me!
Jesus, get away from me!
Go away
you fucking
from me.
Crazy fucking
Get
thing!
away from me! Get away! Get the fuck away from me!
Stay away from me!
Get away from me! Now! Right now! You heard me?
I'm calling the police on you.
I don't give a shit! Get away from me!
You stay away from me. I'm backing up.
Then go! Don't follow me!
Are you
Do
pleading
not
guilty to your criminal
follow me.
case? Are you pleading guilty?
Do not follow me!
Are you pleading guilty?
Do not follow me!
Are you pleading guilty? That's all I want to know.
Go away from me!
Are you pleading guilty?
I'm outside of the regular court. I need
Holy. Are you pleading guilty?
Go the fuck away from me!
Why did you ask for a publication ban?
Fuck off!
Why did you ask for a publication ban?
Off. Go away!
Why is it important to you that the public doesn't know what you did?
Go away! I need
You punched me in the head.
Go! Listen! Go away! Go! Away! Go!
Are the police on the phone?
Turn off the camera and go away. You understand those two words?
Did you?
You are stalking
Are you going to be pleading guilty?
You are stalking me.
You violated the criminal code. Will you be pleading guilty to the 2 charges against you? for holding a prohibited weapon. And with actions like this, how dangerous you're acting, how violent you're acting, how are you not in custody?
Go away. Go away. Go away. Now. Right now. You want to be under arrest?
No, and I'm not going to be. You will be, though.
You will be. No. You will be.
You will be on it.
No, I won't. I know I won't.
Under arrest.
Nope,
You will be under
I
arrest.
won't be.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Oh, Juliet, wherefore art thou? My goodness, Sheila, so many angles to pursue. First and foremost, why does the BC RCMP turn on their light rack once they've arrived at the scene as opposed to rushing to the scene? But you know, I'll tell you, all joking aside, there was a very telling exchange in what we just saw, and that was when Kian, after taking several blows to the head, said to Jonathan Yaniv, "I'm going to call the cops," and he said, "I don't give a shite." And he doesn't, because, Sheila, this person is, I won't say getting away with murder, but getting away with physical assault. With me, got away with multiple physical assault with a weapon back in August. And he doesn't give a shite because law enforcement is choosing inexplicably to look the other way. I don't care if you're gay, straight, transgender, if you're from the planet Uranus, we all have to live under the letter of the law. And this guy has a monopoly community chest, get out of free jail card, it seems, where the authorities are turning a blind eye. And that is the problem. This is what makes me enraged, Sheila. We've had bad, vile people since the dawn of man. But when we have the guys, you know, that are supposed to be enforcing the law and instead making up some kind of bogus BS as to why they can't enforce the law when it comes to certain identifiable groups, that is egregious, my friend.
I was making some notes as I was watching that. As a journalist, I was shocked at Kian's ability, and you did the same thing too, and maybe Mr. Producer can drag up some images or some video of when you were clubbed like a baby seal by a pink cane, courtesy of one Jonathan Yaniv. But Kian, you and Kian still did journalism. After you were assaulted, you're still asking questions. Kian was attacked by someone I would liken to departed but beloved 80s wrestler Dusty Rhodes. And he's still asking questions. Are you going to plead guilty? Are you going to plead guilty? Same thing with you. When you were clubbed by Jonathan Yaniv in the street in front of lookers on, you're still asking questions. And I don't think our journalistic competitors, A, would bother to put themselves in harm's way to get their story.
No.
And B, continue to do journalism after the fact. These attacks on us are designed to have us stop doing journalism. And even as the attacks are happening, you guys are still asking questions, which I think is amazing. But I also think that had something been done when you were clubbed with that pink cane in a condo parking lot, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
The RCMP, unfortunately, or the police on the scene that day, I don't know if it was RCMP or some other jurisdiction, but they have been some of the biggest enablers of this lunatic all along. Between the mom, Miriam, Mama Yaniv, as you call her, and the police, everybody's enabling this. You get clubbed, nothing happens. Well, of course Kian can get clubbed because nobody did anything at all.
Indeed, Sheila, and just to refresh our viewers' minds if they haven't heard my story, it goes back to last August when I originally approached Mama Yaniv and her bouncing bundle of joy, Jonathan. They ran to their condos, and I was outside in the common parking lot area, as you stated. They were literally home free. I was packing up, getting ready to go back to the Vancouver airport to fly out of there, and they approached me. It's all on film. You don't have to take my word for it, folks. Two things. He struck me over the head and shoulders 5 times with that steel cane. The mother, you can't see this on camera, she had an iPad at one point, and she was ramming it into my neck. And the fact is, when the RCMP did come, and I showed the RCMP footage, and I said, yes, I think you should press charges. By the way, it was Jonathan who called the RCMP. Somehow he felt that he was being victimized, and while he was there, asked the RCMP to call an ambulance for him, even though I didn't even touch a hair, on his body. I guess he got tennis elbow from the amount of times he was swinging that cane. But the point I'm getting to, Sheila, is that this, just dreadful example of law enforcement said the following: well, if we go after assault charges for him, we're probably going to have to press charges against you. And I said, charges for what? And he said, harassment. I said, harassment? I'm in the public square practicing journalism, asking questions. I've never seen this before, Sheila, in my career, this horse trading, that if we charge him, we got to charge you. If we don't charge him, you're free to go too. This is unbelievable. I mean, these guys make Dudley Do-Right look like RoboCop, for goodness sakes. I am at a loss for words because, like I said, the fact that we have what I believe, Sheila, is a mentally ill con man gaming the system for financial benefit. That's one thing. We've had awful people since the history of man, but the fact that the establishment, the justice system, law enforcement are letting this creature get away with this is appalling.
Well, maybe Mr. Producer can bring up the video that Cian did from the courthouse where he explained how he was being excluded from the courtroom at the request of Jonathan Yaniv. So now Jonathan Yaniv is directing who can be in an open courtroom in the Canadian justice system. I've sat in and reported on child sex offenses. And there are ways that you can report on those things. You have to respect the publication bans on certain things, of course. And a lot of times the children are hidden from the view of the spectators, of course. I completely understand that. But you can still, as a journalist, be in the courtroom. So tell me, why on earth it is the bailiffs or the sheriffs, I'm sorry, I don't know who's doing the security at that courthouse in British Columbia, but why are they doing the bidding of Jonathan Yaniv?
Oh, and Sheila, before Mr. Producer runs that clip, he's got it queued up. You are right, it is the sheriffs, and it gets even more egregious than that. They said they were excluding Cian, and only Cian, from attending this public court under a provision under the BC Sheriff's Act, namely 4D, which supposedly says something: if somebody is a potential threat to the court, he shall not go into the court. Guess what, Sheila? Section 4D, stipulation 4D rather, does not exist. These guys, these sheriffs, made up a regulation. To me, this is worthy of a suspension, perhaps even losing their job. They actually made up a law. And here's the question. We'll go to the clip, and I want you to ponder this, and I want our audience to ponder this. It's this. Are these cops, are these some liberal, progressive, super woke versions of law enforcement that are looking at social justice when it comes to, responding to criminality? Or is this somebody over their heads saying, listen, it doesn't matter what the law says, this is what you have to do? Ponder that, and let's check out this clip.
Worked. Well, not at first. As I was speaking to police, Yaniv took the opportunity to scuttle out as fast as he possibly could with his mother. I took this opportunity to leave, much to the sheriff's chagrin. They demanded that I stay put, that I stand still and stand and talk to them. Luckily, they had no authority to keep me there. I didn't break the law. I'm not a lawbreaker. Yaniv is the one that seems, or at least appears to be, a lawbreaker right now. We've had to see what's going to happen in court. Anyways, I was walking as fast as I could to follow up with Yaniv as he was leaving the building, and right as I stepped out, I turned on my camera and started filming, asking Yaniv how he would be pleading. Here's how that went. Jonathan, will you be pleading guilty?
Leave me alone.
Will you be pleading guilty?
You go inside the court's then.
Will you be pleading guilty? Hey, don't touch my property.
I'm
Don't
just telling you,
don't touch my property.
You can't be photoing anything in here.
I'm not.
Go inside this building.
Will you be pleading guilty, Jonathan?
My name is not Jonathan. You know that.
The court registry says otherwise.
Screw off.
Will you be pleading guilty? Now, this individual right here grabbed my equipment and tried to pull it down. This individual didn't want me asking a predator questions. I don't know why that is. He had no right to touch me, to touch my equipment. We were outside of the courthouse. I was in a public space recording a public individual, someone of international significance who's been ridiculed on the global stage, someone who's destroyed the reputation of the trans movement, for better or for worse, here in Canada. I was asking very basic questions, but for some reason the sheriffs are so keen to protect Jonathan Yaniv. Now, I tried to get back into the courthouse, but they were not having it.
You, sir, are not coming inside. Thank you.
Yeah, you're not coming inside.
Now, I'm displeased with how the sheriffs have been acting, but it actually gets worse. I tried to get back into the building for the 2 p.m. court date, and they wouldn't let me. They cited Section 4D of the BC Sheriff's Act, saying that I posed a threat to the occupants of the building. Unfortunately, 4D doesn't actually exist in the BC Sheriff's Act. It goes from 4A to 4C. There's no 4D, so the sheriff obviously didn't know what he was talking about, but he said he was going to arrest me if I went back in there. So here we are right now. Jonathan Yaniv is in the courtroom, and a report from my friend, someone with True North, actually told me that right now, as I record this, Jonathan Yaniv is seeking a court ruling for a publication ban of this trial.
You know, Sheila, two things. First of all, if 4D actually did exist, it's irrelevant. As Kian said, the sheriff had no authority. A judge is the one who rules a courtroom. A judge is the one that says, you are out of here. He's the ultimate umpire when it comes to who gets to remain in the courtroom. The second thing, and I did a monologue last month about this, fetish the courts have right now of publication bans for the most odious people. Used to be, folks, publication bans were extremely rare. And of course, when it comes to people under 18, under the Criminal Youth Justice Act, you can't use names anyways. But we're talking about adults. In many cases, we're talking about the likes of Yaniv. We're talking about serial pedophiles. We're talking about guys who pour buckets of feces over innocent people's heads. They all qualify for a publication ban for some reason. And Jonathan Yaniv actually got a publication ban from the British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal. And Sheila, I still have to research this. I don't even know if a Human Rights Tribunal has the power to issue a publication ban, but it was a moot point. The publication ban was, in a perverse stroke of irony, removed because it was violated so many times. Oh, who violated the publication ban? Jonathan Yaniv, the person it was meant to protect. Sheila, do you feel like you're living in the bizarro Superman world sometimes?
This is so crazy. And I'm not a lawyer, but I am a journalist who cares about transparency. And I'm a citizen of Canada that cares deeply that justice or criminal proceedings, court proceedings, the legal system happens in the disinfecting light of the sun. We don't have cameras in our courtrooms. We rely on journalists and the fact that courtrooms are open to the public so they can see the administration of the legal system for themselves so that the public has trust in it. But when we have somebody like Jonathan Yaniv manipulating the court system to hide their misdeeds, and really the things they are doing, that's the wrong pronoun, the things he is doing, there are allegations that children are at risk here. We know that there are allegations. The current charges are because of brandishing a conductive electricity device, which is equivalent to brandishing a handgun if you're not licensed to own one. We know he's clubbed you. We saw him club Kian. This is a person who is probably one of the most I don't want to say interesting people, but I suppose that could be the right word. This story is of great interest internationally, and yet we have the sheriffs inventing rules in British Columbia to protect him. It is absolutely insane. It's antithetical to our legal system as it is.
But Sheila, if I can...
Sorry, I just want to make one more point. I think this is coming down from above, though. I don't think these regular cops and sheriffs get into policing and public safety so that they can protect the likes of Jonathan Yaniv from somebody like Kian. I don't think that that's how it is. I think that this is some sort of social justice directive coming down from above. And I'm pro-cop. I'm not a big fan of their bosses. And I have a lot of empathy for cops on the front line who probably have a lot of disgust for the things they have to do and the people they have to defend.
You know, Sheila, here's the thing. I think you're right. Maybe it is coming from atop. I'll tell you what doesn't make sense to me. As you know, the way human rights tribunals work, and the BC Human Rights Tribunal is the worst of the worst in terms of its progressive leftyism. The deck is stacked against who the complaint is going after. In Jonathan Yaniv's case, with 3 of the cases that he brought before the court, I believe there was a dozen, not only were the cases dismissed, but this is so super rare in the world of Canadian human rights tribunals. 3 of the people he was going after were awarded costs, $2,000 each for a total of $6,000. What I'm getting at is that, forget about whiny journalists, if you want to call us that, the BC Human Rights Tribunal itself called foul on this guy to such an extent that they went after him for costs, which I don't have any recent memory of a human rights tribunal doing that in any other case. So, Sheila, why is it that whoever is in charge of these RCMP constables, whoever is in charge of these BC sheriffs, why are they still saying, yeah, you know what, there's a precedent set that this guy's a con artist gaming the system, but protect him anyways? Why?
Well, because Jonathan Yaniv checks all the social justice boxes. Jonathan Yaniv is transgender, at least according to his own identification, and I guess that's good enough these days. Yep. Jonathan Yaniv is disabled. But
he's not.
But he's not. I mean, like I said, Dusty Rhodes. He's built like Dusty Rhodes, too, by the way. Sort of big on top and skinny little legs.
I was thinking more Gold Dust when it comes to Yaniv.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like Jonathan Yaniv knows, look, if I fill all these social justice silos, I have that much extra protection. So Jonathan Yaniv is transgender. Jonathan Yaniv is disabled. Jonathan Yaniv is a woman. And so because of that, that's just 3 extra force fields preventing Jonathan Yaniv from the criticism he deserves. We have a bunch of super chats, though.
Okay.
Mr. Producer sent them to me. My friend Justin from Proud Boys Calgary gives us $2.79 Canadian. Thank God for Chinooks. Going to be +4 here on Monday. Oh, you get Chinooks in Calgary, do you? Yeah, no, we don't. We don't get those up here.
Chinooks, or as Leonardo DiCaprio would say, a visible sign of global warming. What's happening?
Right. That's why we named a salmon after it, because it hasn't ever happened before. For those of you who don't know what a Chinook is, in the southern parts of the province, sort of like from Calgary south, the temperature sometimes can go up like 40 degrees. It can go from like -30 to +10 in just a couple hours because the warm, wet winds will come over the Rockies and sort of go across the foothills and across the prairie, and it'll cause everything to melt like that. We don't get those up here. We just hunker down sometime in September, and then we come to life about May long weekend up here. And
if anyone doesn't get my Leonardo DiCaprio reference, when he was in Alberta filming The Revenant, he experienced firsthand a Chinook, and he actually had his own meltdown. He actually thought, I guess, he was watching a real life version of The Day After Tomorrow, and this is so beautiful. The film crew, which are born and bred Albertans, played along and went, "We've never seen this before. It's the end of the world." I love it.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. Very embarrassing. And yet, even after that, he's held up as some sort of climate scientist. Mary Warner gives us $2 Canadian. I don't see a super chat there, Mary, but thank you very much for your generosity. Full Tilt Leets Yelt. Okay. That's an interesting YouTube name. Gives us $20 Canadian for our hard-hitting team. I don't know how hard-hitting we are, but we get hit pretty hard. Proud Boys Calgary, again, Justin, thank you, $6.99 Canadian. Have to admire David and Kian's adrenaline control. Yes. Yaniv would have woken up in the hospital after a nice little nap with most people. Isn't that the truth?
I think Justin just committed a hate crime there, Sheila. I mean, there might, Justin, I don't know if you can look out your window. Is there, do you hear the sound of a police siren from the Human Rights Tribunal coming your way?
Yaniv's called it over his hurt feelings. Yeah. I look back at when I was punched by that insufferable lip-ringed male feminist, Dion Buse.
Is there any other kind?
They're all the same. They're all at a central casting, aren't they? Like if someone asked me to draw a picture of a male feminist at the Women's March, I would have come up with a composite sketch of Dion Buse. But as soon as they hit me, I sort of got right off the rev limiter. I was yelling at ladies. I was pointing my finger. And then when I was watching you guys are super calm. I'm screaming at everybody, and you guys are still doing journalism.
I don't mean to laugh at your assault, Sheila. As the saying goes, not so funny when it happened, but when you look back at that little weasel, man, he makes Ron MacLean look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, for goodness sake.
Yeah, looking back now, was I crazy? Like there's 800 cat ladies to the front and the back of me, and I'm gonna go after this guy like that. At some point, my better sense kicked in, and they sort of shuffled him through the crowd. But I came out from behind the camera and was yelling at everybody. Anyway, so good for you guys. You have better adrenaline control than I do. El Chupacabra. God, I love saying that name, and I love listening to Ezra say that name. El Chupacabra gives us $20.99 Canadian. Finally, a charge Yaniv can't wiggle out of. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. But as we've seen, we really can't trust the legal system when dealing with Jonathan Yaniv, and that is why we're also pursuing a civil case against Jonathan Yaniv. Likewise with the aforementioned Dion Buse. When the legal system, because you can't trust the legal system, lets you down, you always have that backup relief to go after the person civilly. And we are, but that's going to cost us a lot of money. I think it was $38,000 to get a civil judgment against Dion Buse just to set the record straight about what actually happened, so that I could show that footage.
Yeah, it was worth every penny. And Sheila, on the issue that Jonathan is in court for, we're talking a maximum penalty, I believe, of 6 months. What do you want to bet he is going to walk with just probation? I don't see. Absolutely. Even with physical confiscation of the evidence, even with him bragging about it on video, he's dead to rights. He's guilty. I will be surprised. I'm going to state this right now. If he does 1 day in jail, I'll be surprised.
Yep, I agree. And what I was saying was it's so important that we do proceed civilly against him, because one of the problems with the criminal court case against Dion Buse was that I was not allowed to be involved, or I wasn't informed of the proceedings that were happening, and so the judge who sentenced Dion Buse to just basically nothing didn't see him punching me. They took Dion Buse's word, and because I wasn't there, said all sorts of things about me as a victim, and basically let him walk out of the courtroom with a song and a dance. And once we were able to set the record straight, show a judge what actually happened, the judge admitted that the first judge would have likely found differently had I been involved and had they seen that evidence. And so for us to proceed civilly against Jonathan Yaniv, if a criminal court never sees that assault and they cut a deal behind Kian's back like the court did to me, at least civilly, someone will be able to see that, and it'll be a matter of public record that, this is what actually occurred on the video, and that's very important to have that out there, because otherwise you're going to have Jonathan Yaniv writing the narrative.
It is important, and it's worth every penny just so that justice is finally done. And I see on our list to switch gears here, but not radically so, folks. We showed what happened with Yaniv, both with encounters with Kian Bexley and myself last August, and how the law enforcement doesn't give a rodent's rectum when it's someone like him. But apparently, Hockey Night in Canada personalities, well, there's a different standard of law applied to them as well. And, and by that, you can check out the video, folks. Last Sunday, I went to Vaughan. It was the site of Rogers Hometown Hockey. It was filmed in a public area, actual real streets and sidewalks. Yes, there was private tents and broadcast booths. I didn't wander into any of those. And I think we might have a clip, because I wanted to approach Ron MacLean and ask him, because this was the new news peg from a week ago, the numerous numbers are out regarding the ratings to Hockey Night in Canada. And wow, talk about go woke, get broke. They're plummeting since the axing of one of the greatest Canadians living in our Dominion, Don Cherry. And I just wanted to know how Ron felt about the fact that, he was complicit in the backstabbing of Don Cherry, and how he feels about the ratings plummeting. And this is what unfolded.
Great, how are you doing? Good, sir. I'm just wondering, how do you feel about the ratings for Hockey Night in Canada plummeting? Excuse me.
No, sir.
Yeah, my wife.
Sir.
Since Don Cherry was fired.
I wouldn't know, sir.
Excuse me.
Sir,
I'm in a public place.
No, those questions, sir.
Ron, why did you throw Ron under the bus? Excuse me. I'm in a public place. What are you?
Leave Ron alone.
Hey,
Do not hit me.
what are you doing?
You just hit me.
Hi,
You just hit me.
I'm trying to get around you. You're holding me back.
Hey, are we going to take it down bad or what?
I'm trying to do my job.
No, you're not trying to do your job. You're trying
I'm
to
in a
interfere
public
with-
place,
Yes,
officer.
you're not allowed to hit me like that.
I didn't hit you. I've got it on camera. Okay?
Perfect.
Are you guys kidding
It's
me?
called criminal harassment.
This
That's
is
what it
assault.
It's called criminal harassment. Is what you're doing. So
I'm
I'm
practicing
cautioning you to
journalism.
stop. This is not journalism. Do you have a journalism pass to be here?
Huh? Yes, I do. I have press credentials.
No, you don't. See, that's a lie.
I'm in a public place. What is this? Are you guys kidding me?
No, we're not.
No, this is a private event.
I'm on a public street, officer.
You're right. That's a private event. He has a private sector here.
This is incredible, folks. I got 3 York Regional cops. Sorry.
From the event, because we don't want it out there.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, stop.
Are you kidding me?
No, we're not kidding you.
Huh?
We're not kidding you.
This is forcible confinement.
No, it's not forcible confinement.
It is. You're holding me back. I'm on a public street.
You were in his face. You're not allowed to be in his face. That's harassment.
This is called freedom of the press, officer.
You were in his face. He didn't want you to be there.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that.
Listen,
Excuse me.
we are under
Let go
instructions.
of the microphone. What's your problem now?
I don't have a problem.
Huh?
We're just trying to stop him. We don't have the problem. The
What?
problem lies with you, right?
Why?
Listen, I'm not talking into your microphone.
I can do that.
Listen, you can sit there and film me, but you can't shove the microphone in my face.
Okay, then I'll be on my way.
No, you won't. Not in here.
Are you kidding me?
Throw yourself into it.
Are you kidding me?
Throw yourself into it. You're not going in there.
I can't walk on a public street. What is this?
You're not going in.
Why are you holding
You're
me?
not going in because I'm trying to prevent a criminal offense.
Huh?
That's what I am doing.
What is a criminal offense?
It's called criminal harassment. You're harassing Ron MacLean. That's what we're stopping you from doing.
Oh, that's on the books, eh? I'm harassing Ron MacLean. That's a criminal offense again.
Criminal offense of harassing Ron MacLean. Stop putting the microphone in my face. You can stand back. You can stand back and you can film me, but you can't shove a microphone in my face.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cops, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is unbelievable. I am in a public place. I am allowed to walk, and I'm allowed to ask questions, and I'm allowed to practice journalism. If you're not arresting me, good night.
You aren't coming into the scene. There's an event.
What do you mean?
Where do you think you're going, sir?
I'm going onto a public street, officer.
I agree.
Is that a problem?
No, I'm asking you where you intend on going.
I was hoping to ask Ron MacLean some questions.
He's inside the event venue, which is property that you aren't allowed to permit it to.
This is a public property, officer.
Agree, sir, but
Thank you.
the street is public property. Yeah. However, the venue here, the tent, and the establishment that is running it has asked that you not attend.
I'm not going in the tent. I'm outside the tent.
Okay, you can be outside the tent.
Thank you.
And there'll be some officers escorting you there. Is that fair? Okay.
Well, I don't know why I'm getting an officer's escort, but thank you for being reasonable, because these goons were throwing me into things. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I support the police, but that's goddamn shameful, what you did.
Which way would you like to go, sir?
Wherever Ron MacLean is.
Well, he's inside.
Yeah, and I'll hang outside until he comes, okay?
That's fine. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
Ron, why did you throw Don Cherry under the bus? Oof. Are you kidding me? Ron? Do you regret do you regret what you've done, Ron?
Don't push me, okay?
I'm not pushing you, officer. You're pushing me. Ron, what do you have to say to Don Cherry, someone who saved your job at least 3 times? I'm walking. I'm trying to talk to. Wow, how does Ron MacLean get 10, 12 York Region police officers as his private security force? Ron, can you answer these questions?
You know, Sheila, I haven't even seen a head of state receive a security detail like that. I really regret we didn't have a second cameraman. It's too bad Efren wasn't there to show the macro picture, because what I couldn't capture with the first person viewpoint of the cell phone camera was the fact that I was being put into a bear hug, a headlock. I was getting elbowed. I was being pushed. You saw the aftermath of those effects. And also the litany of lies to cover their collective asses. You hit me, like the little baby wimpy Antifa people. Ooh, you hit me. I didn't hit anyone. And, you're getting in my way, you're pushing me. No, it's the absolute opposite. But you see, they're layering down the lies, the deceit for when this is potentially put upon the carpet, which it will be, as you noted earlier, to lay the seeds that I was the one handing out physicality. Can you imagine, Sheila, me, one guy holding a microphone and a cell phone going up against a baker's dozen of York Regional Police? I'm not anti-cop, as I said, but that was a disgrace. And I believe, because I actually filmed this, there was somebody called Kevin from Rogers, and while they were in the tent, I was filming from outside, and you see Kevin, basically, well, you go here and you go there, and they're going, yes, boss, 3 bags full, boss. It brought up, there's 2 pop culture references I'm going to make. First of all, Rogers controlling the police. It reminded me of the RoboCop movie. Remember when OPC, Omni Consumer Products, that is, takes over the policing of the city of Detroit? So now Rogers Communications, as big and as powerful as they are, can enlist police officers as its private security. The second thing is, there was a very telling thing that one of the officers said, I'm trying to prevent a crime from happening, and I throw that back to the 2002 Tom Cruise film, Minority Report. You might remember that, Sheila, where the police have a pre-crimes unit, aided and abetted by clairvoyance, where they arrest people before a crime is committed, so there's not any victims. The only hitch, of course, is the clairvoyants aren't 100% accurate. But apparently, I guess, Minority Report was set in York Region in the year 2020 because the York Regional Police appear to have a pre-crimes unit. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what they have in China, by the way. That's how they lock up all the Uyghurs and the Kazakhs. They just, predict their criminality against the state and then just round them up and re-educate them. We have a couple super chats before I go into the litany of things I wrote down while I was watching that video. we've got one from Proud Boys Calgary. Please don't insult the Reynolds family like that. I know I shouldn't have been insulting Dusty Rhodes. I love him. That's why that's why he was on the top of my mind. Danny D, $25 Canadian. Rebel News, you guys do amazing work and need more respect. I think we are respected by the people who matter, and that's the people who watch at home. I don't care if politicians like me. I don't care if police like me. I just want them to leave me alone so that I can do my job. That's all the respect that I need. We've got one from R1P Buck, $5 Canadian. Why in the world do these idiots think it's better to argue and assault rebel journalists than just say no comment and zip their lip? Yeah. Are they? I mean, that's our shtick, to use that word. We film everything. We record everything. Why? Because people like to lie about us. Yeah. Really, it's true. You can't report the news unless you've filmed the news. That's for sure. But also, it's to cover our asses and everybody else's. And
also, Sheila, it should be noted. It should be noted, my friend, that we have sent a legal letter to York Regional Police asking if any of those officers had body cam footage, and we want the footage either turned over or preserved. If it is deleted, it will be considered as destroying evidence, because I have nothing to hide. I want them to present their body cam footage. It backs up everything, my cell phone camera included. Let's see if they're going to comply with that request.
Well, and those cops, there's no way that they could get away with what they did if they were private security.
Oh, no chance.
No chance. And they are acting as de facto private security. Just thinking about this right now, I'm going to see if we have the ability to file a Freedom of Information request to see if Rogers actually contracted with the York Regional Police for their services that day. Were they private contractors that day, or were they acting on behalf of the city?
That's a great question, Sheila.
Because I think there's a lot of issues there either way, and I'd just like to know which side of the line they're on. Were they private contractors that day? Do we have a problem with Rogers, or do we have a problem with the York Regional Police, or is it both? Do
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they were not paid duty cops for that event. I wouldn't be surprised if Rogers got in touch with Vaughan City Council and simply said, hey, we have this wonderful, feel-good, great for tourism shindig called Hometown Hockey we're going to put into your community. And in terms of quid pro quo here, you wouldn't mind providing some police officers for security, would you? And it would be rubber stamped. So please make that request, Sheila.
Yeah, I want to know if Rogers employees, contractors, are roughing up our journalists, or if City of York regional employees are roughing up our journalists, because I think it makes a big difference. But, Ron MacLean didn't say anything to you.
That's right.
So how are these cops deciding that you are harassing Ron MacLean? Are they reading Ron MacLean's mind? Ron MacLean didn't say a word to you. He didn't tell you to go away. He didn't do anything. He just walked.
Oh, so Sheila, weren't you paying attention to me? It's the pre-crimes unit. Not only do they have clairvoyance, they have telepaths. So they were picking up Ron MacLean's brain waves. Of course, he was too cowardly to actually say them, which indicated, I don't want to talk to this Mr. Mean Man journalist, and they did his bidding. That's my theory.
Yeah, they put the old Jonathan Yaniv move on you when they grabbed your microphone. I mean, this is crazy. It's shocking to watch. Because I have cops in my family. And, they are just part of their community. They didn't sign up to harass journalists. They certainly didn't sign up to harass lawful gun owners. They like all the same things we do. And so this is crazy. To see, I actually don't think that directive came from above. If David Menzies shows up, rough him up, grab his microphone. I think that happened on the fly. And then the other guy who was sort of reasonable, I didn't pick up reasonable. I picked up condescending.
Oh, yeah. And also what you didn't see, what we edited out, Sheila, is his role in, it was good cop, bad cop. And his role later at the tent was he came up to me and he was saying that, look, would you like me to set up an interview with some Rogers personnel? What he was doing, he must have thought I fell off a turnip truck from Whitby last Saturday. What he was doing was creating a diversionary tactic, because I had the wherewithal to look over his shoulder, and sure enough, that was when I saw 8, 9, or 10 York cops come out of the tent with Ron MacLean in the center, like the jelly in a donut. So that was his shtick, and I even said to him, hey, that was a good try. I'll be on my way now, when I ran after Ron. So yeah, it just gets worse and worse. And like yourself, I am not anti-cop. I am not anti-law enforcement. I call them as I see them. And just a week before that happened, same police force, I want to give a tip of the hat to Constable Leong. He was called to the constituency office of Majid Johari. I went there. And after I was kicked out of the office, I was in the common area of the building, which I'm allowed to be in. And Johari's staff called the police on me. By the way, the story, folks, about Majid Johari, he's the Richmond Hill Liberal MP who supports the Iranian regime in Iran. And there's actually been allegations from a freelancer that he is a paid agent in Canada. I'm telling you, I've lived in Richmond Hill for more than 21 years. I have never met anyone in the Persian community, with the exception of Mr. Johari, that supports the regime. Anyways, his staff called the police on me, and what Constable Leong said, it's all on video, is he said, emotions are running high. He says, you're in a common area unless the landlord contacts me and asks for me to remove you for trespassing. You're free to be here, and I'll be on my way. That is good, proper, ethical, moral policing. What you saw in Vaughan was a whole pile of monkey crap.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Johari, the allegations that he is too pro-Iran are coming from former Liberal MPs.
Yes.
When they are raising the alarm bells and saying, don't vote for him, vote for the Conservative because of his ties to the Iranian regime, everybody should be concerned about that.
But Sheila, wait a second. Not only former Liberal MPs and MPPs who in October put out a mass email saying, do not vote for this guy. These are Liberals, folks. The allegations that Johari is pro-Iranian regime are coming from Majid Johari. He tweets out congratulations to the mullahs in Tehran. Why is this guy in caucus, Sheila?
Yeah. Well, and I liked, that one cop, going back to the Ron MacLean thing, it just so astounding for these cops who are sworn to uphold the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in this country, asking journalists for journalism passes. What planet is this? How do they not know that that's not a thing in this country?
Yeah.
That you can just hassle journalists and say, where's your journalism license? Journalism isn't a guild that you have to join like the stonemasons or whatever. It's a thing you do every day. It's a practice. And so if you're committing an act of journalism, you're a journalist, and the cops can't hassle you.
Sheila, I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of regulation with this kind of federal government we have, which is all about pursuing a totalitarian narrative, is on the books. They just have to figure out, and they're doing it in sneaky ways, such as, Motion M103, right? Yeah. But I could foresee a day with this narcissistic prime minister that we have of actually putting forth legislation, kind of what they have in the UK. As Ezra said when he was in the court and the officer said, can I see your journalism licenses? And there was, oh, look at mine. They've all put up their hands. Yeah, how far off, Sheila, are we from the day and age in which a citizen journalist is against the law?
Well, and we're not even citizen journalists. We're citizens.
I know.
Yeah, we're citizens. But we work for Canada's largest independent journalism outlet.
Yep.
I mean, we're not just some guy with a cell phone camera. However, we are also that person. Yep. And that person is to a journalist. But, Kean goes to the courthouse to cover the Yaniv trial, wearing a rebel hat. He's got his rebel lanyard around his neck and his press ID around his neck. He's very clearly a journalist and not just some random harassing harassing as though that's such a thing, harassing Jonathan Yaniv, going into the courthouse, is pretty clear he's a journalist. He's committed journalism all over the globe.
Yeah.
And he should be allowed to commit it in Canada too. I wanted to throw back to Kian for a second because we didn't mention the website where people can see all of his coverage. Yeah. It's yanivtrial.com. There you can see his coverage of, thank you in the office for putting that up. You can see his coverage, but you can also help to cover his legal fees to pursue Jonathan Yaniv civilly and, to make sure that the criminal trial moves forward. It's important for us to have representation in the process because a lot of times victims of violent crime are just sort of an afterthought in the system. There's actually no representation for victims of violent crime in the system. It is the Crown and the defendant, and that's it. So it's important for us to have somebody who's looking out for Kian's best interest in all of this.
And isn't it amazing, Sheila, how, I guess it's the Christmas miracle late by 3 weeks, how Jonathan Yaniv, who usually is in a mobility scooter, being a parasite to the BC transit system to have those special Wheel-Trans vans pick him up. Isn't it a modern day miracle that he doesn't need his cane and his mobility scooter and that special van to get around, but comes charging like some 800-pound rhino on the African Serengeti whenever he sees a rebel journalist? How is it so? Can you explain this supernatural wonder, Sheila, that we witness every time?
It's a Hanukkah miracle. It is a Festivus blessing. It is Jesus healing. Whatever you believe, Kian has the touch of the divine. He has, and so do you. Somehow, you guys can make the crippled walk and hit you across the heads. It's truly, you guys are like Mother Teresa.
Unbelievable. Maybe we should take the show on the road and do the Jim Baker PTL shtick, But or was that Ernest Angley? I remember the people he would cure from deafness and blindness and being in a wheelchair. But anyways, I digress.
I'd make a hell of a Tammy Faye Baker. I would. I could get on the stage with you guys and just start crying with my mascara running down my face.
Those were the days.
Birthday. TV was a different time. We have a message from Justin, the producer. And he says, near the end of the show, and I would say that 6 minutes left in the hour is pretty near the end of the show, that we should mention the Rebel Cruise that's coming up. It's the Rebel News Cruise. You can find that at rebelnewscruise.com. And we are going to Alaska on a cruise ship, July 4th to 11th, 2020. And of course, Rebel Commander, the boss, Ezra Levant, will be there. Kian, if he can take time from hunting commies and criminals, he'll be there. I'll be there enjoying the colder cruise. I sort of kind of like that. You'll be there, David, and Candace Malcolm from True North. She's going to be there. Manny Montenegrino, fan favorite. Manny Montenegrino will be there. Raheel Raza, she's fantastic in her fight for, I suppose, the modernization of Islam. Yes. She's a terrific speaker and such a very brave lady. Taking on the causes that she does. So that's happening July 4th to 11th. You can get all the details on rebelnewscruise.com.
Sheila,
and see the pictures. Look how nice that looked, you guys.
It is gorgeous. I can't wait, Sheila. As a matter of fact, just yesterday I had my Speedo dry cleaned, so I am ready for this cruise.
I'm going to be trapped on a cruise ship with you. And that's fine.
I know you're thinking there's a punchline there somewhere, but you dare not say it.
I avoided seeing you in your Speedo in Israel because I didn't go into the Dead Sea when everybody else did, because I had done it the year before, and it's fun. You want to do it once, but you just sort of like bob along like a buoy, right? Like you can't really do anything in the Dead Sea. It's an experience. You have to do it once. So I jammed out on that, so I didn't want a to see some of our Rebel fans in their bathing suits. I just, and I didn't want them to see me in my bathing suit, because that is a bad dream that I frequently have. But also a nightmare is seeing you in a Speedo. And so now that we'll be on the cruise ship, I guess I better just expect the worst.
Well, Sheila, the Dead Sea is like boiling water. Alaska is a bit chilly, so what's that Seinfeldian word?
No, don't,
shrinkage.
don't, David, don't, David.
By the way,
Don't.
I got to tell you, in addition to that esteemed lineup of commentators, we also have, hot off the press, Daniel Pipes will be appearing, and he is fantastic. He's an awesome speaker, especially when it comes to the perils and the solutions vis-a-vis radical Islam. You wouldn't want to miss Daniel Pipes live up close and in person.
Well, and he's got such an encyclopedic knowledge of radical Islam and all the players around the world, but particularly in the Middle East. He's just a wealth of information. I don't think there's a question that someone could ask that he can't answer about radical Islam. So that's very, very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Okay, I thought you were going to throw in some kind of a funny line there, Sheila. But
well,
you see, obviously, I'd be a failure with the York Regional Police Pre-Crimes Unit, because I was picking up some telepathy that never materialized.
You were anticipating me insulting you, and it didn't come.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Producer has given us the football-like 2-minute warning. Speaking of which, AFC and NFC finals. Do you have any dogs in this race, Sheila, in terms of picks for who's going to the Super Bowl?
I don't watch American football.
Ooh.
At all. Yeah, I don't care about American football.
I'm all in for the Kansas City Chiefs, just because I think in our lifetime, once the social justice warriors slay the Washington Redskins, even though even the natives embrace that name, the next on their list, as you know, will be teams like the Chiefs and the Blackhawks and the Braves and so on and so on and so forth. So I would love to see the Chiefs win. And besides Patrick Mahomes, there's no more exciting quarterback than him. But that's NFL. I guess you watch CFL. Is that your bailiwick?
And my team is also targeted by the social justice warriors, of course, the Eskimos.
Oh, yes.
Apparently the Eskimos is an outdated name. So like 3 or 4 people are offended on everybody else's behalf, and so they want to change the name. So
I thought when you were saying a politically incorrect nickname, I thought you were talking about the Ottawa Red Blacks, because doesn't that have something to do with African Americans and natives combined, or am I reading?
I thought it had something to do with plaid. I literally thought it had something to do with plaid. Does it?
Wow, what a powerful nickname. We've named ourselves after a plaid sweater.
I would. Like, that appeals to me, though. That's fine by me.
Oh, boy. Well, listen, folks, I can tell by the clock on the wall, as Wade and Schuster would say, it's time to wish you one and all farewell, adieu, and so on and so forth. I shouldn't be quoting CBC content, right? But
goodbye,
Sheila,
goodbye, good luck, farewell, so long.
Something like that,
Avast and ye take care. Stay loose.
Back in the day when CBC actually had content worth tuning into, I want to thank my lovely co-host, Sheila Gunn-Reid, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I especially want to thank all you generous viewers that contributed money to our Super Chat. We really depend on that. So thank you one and all. Have a wonderful weekend. Be careful. Stay safe. Good afternoon.